Отця і Сина і Святого Духа. Слава Ісусу Христу!
Слава навіки!
I think I mentioned the other day that Cardinal Thomas Collins of Toronto, he gave the bishops of the United States a retreat a few years ago. And during one of his talks, he mentioned that when he was still a priest, his first assignment was to the Diocese of St. Paul in northern Alberta, which is largely still, I think it was at that time, it still is a French-speaking diocese. And so when he was first called by the nuncio and informed that he was to become the bishop of the Diocese of St. Paul, he was hesitant, and he told the nuncio, well, I don't know if I'm well suited to that diocese because I don't know French, I don't know the French language all that well. But the nuncio told him, don't worry about that at all. The first thing is to have a shepherd's heart. To have a shepherd's heart. And I think that, it spoke to Cardinal Collins, it speaks to every bishop, and I think to every priest as well. Because the first thing for all of us is to care for the faithful like Christ the Good Shepherd. Like Christ the Good Shepherd. And if to have a shepherd's heart is important for bishops today, I think it's even more important for the parish priests who live so closely with their faithful every day. Because they really the bishops are more kind of, distant from all of this. But the priests, you share the lives of your people, your hopes, their joys, their struggles, their temptations. You acquire the smell of the sheep of your flock. So the first thing for a pastor to have, and that's our first job, is to be a pastor, is to have a shepherd's heart. To feed the people with wisdom, with knowledge, with compassion, to defend them, to lead them, to teach them. And to do all of this looking beyond any possibility for personal gain. The shepherd doesn't do it for any personal interest or personal gain, monetary or otherwise. Everything else is secondary. He does it for his flock, for his people. So whether or not you are a particularly efficient parish administrator, although it helps, it doesn't really matter. Whether or not you can sing very well, although it helps, it doesn't matter really that much. Whether or not you keep a neat desk or have the latest, flashy vestments according to the, to the latest Vogue catalog for Eastern clergy, that doesn't matter really at all either. All this is secondary. The first thing, the only thing, is to have a shepherd's heart, and everything else will fall into place. I think it's telling that they nicknamed the airplane that was flying the Holy Father around the United States. Its call number, or it was known as Shepherd 1. So he was a primary shepherd. We have to be like that. Sometimes, in our daily parish lives with our people, we tend to forget this, and we, as human beings, we tend to let petty disagreements get in the way in our relationships with our parishioners. And I see this all the time with my own priest in the Eparchy of Stamford. And I kind of think to myself, and I say to them sometimes, well, just look beyond that. I mean, what you're getting so stuck about is just so petty. I mean, people are people after all. And we know that many times, well, I know we're not correct in our argumentation, but perhaps maybe most of the time our people aren't, our faithful are not correct in their arguments. Many of them are just simple people. And we can have the feeling, to say, well, I'll show them who's right. I won't give in. I'll show them who's the boss around here. Okay, so, big deal. You've shown the president of the Ladies' League that you're the boss. She's going to get you one way or the other anyways. So, you're right. You're the big hero. You're the boss. You've proved your point. But did you scatter your sheep while you were proving your point? Where was your compassion? Where was your humility? Where was your shepherd's heart? The first thing is to have a shepherd's heart. And of course, we have so many, many examples of good and holy priests, maybe even some among us today, or some that have served before us in this Archeparchy of Winnipeg, that have possessed a shepherd's heart and have shown us what to do. In history, we can look back. The Curé of Ars, Father O'Megan Coach, who I mentioned yesterday, who had the opportunity to be released from that horrible prison of Majdanek, but he chose to stay there, to be with his people. Why? Because he had a shepherd's heart. And how awesome this is for each and every one of us, priests and deacons of Christ, to have a shepherd's heart beating in our breast, and to care for God's people in the name of Christ, the Good Shepherd. An awesome responsibility and a privilege, I would say, a privilege that we share with Christ, to lead, to care for, to teach, to defend, and even if necessary, to give up one's own life in service, to lay down one's life for our flock in imitation of Christ, the Good Shepherd. The first thing to have is to have a shepherd's heart. Slava Isusu Christus.
Slava.